Hi, welcome to my summer mini Bible study on the books of Samuel. So in last Sunday's reading, the people ask the prophet Samuel for a king. That's in chapter 8. And Samuel says, no, you really don't want a king, and here's why. And the people said, yes, we really do want a king. And Samuel says, no, I don't think you do. And the people say, yes, we really do. And finally, God tells Samuel, listen to the voice of the people and set a king over them. And then it skips ahead to some optional verses 3 chapters ahead that say that Samuel and the king made Saul king. And then next week, the story on Sunday jumps ahead to Samuel anointing not Saul, but David. And we find that Saul is being rejected for some reason. So the readings on Sunday entirely miss the story of Saul's reign. So that's what I'm going to share this week and next. This week I'll talk about Saul's rise to power in 1 Samuel chapters 9 to 11, and next week I'll talk about his fall. So in chapter 9, right after Samuel has said, or God has said to Samuel, listen to the people's voice and set a king over them, Samuel has sent the people home and not done much of anything towards getting a king. But we're introduced to a man of Benjamin whose name was Kish, and we get his family history, and we find out that he's very wealthy, and he's got a son whose name is Saul. And Saul is described as very handsome and tall. He looks the part of a king. But when we meet him, his father's donkeys have gone missing, and he has been sent with a servant boy to find them. And they look, and Saul is ready to give up. And we hear his first words, which in the Bible are usually the first words are important to the character development. They reveal a lot about the person. So Saul's first words are, come, let us turn back, lest my father cease worrying about the asses and worry about us. So, and it's especially interesting to contrast Saul with David, who is a really good shepherd. The good King David is a good shepherd as he's a boy growing up taking care of his sheep, defending them from lions. And here we have Saul, who has lost his donkeys and is about to give up on finding them. So Saul is uncertain, he lacks resolve, he's indecisive. And it's the servant who prods Saul on and says, well, I hear there's a seer in this area, so let's go find the seer and see if the seer, this man of God, can tell us where to find the donkeys. So they go up the hill to the town, and they meet some women who are coming out to draw water. And immediately you know that if you think back to Genesis, where the story of Jacob, where he meets Rachel drawing water from a well, this is a betrothal scene. When a boy and a girl meet at a well, there's sure to be a wedding follow. You think. Well, you would think, but in this case, it is not. Saul could get the girl, but instead he says, where is the seer? And the women answer, he's here in the town just ahead of you. Go in and meet him, because he's going to sacrifice, and then there will be a big feast. So Saul does not get married. Instead, he goes into town and meets Samuel. And here we're introduced to Samuel, and we find out that the day before, God has said to Samuel, tomorrow I'm going to show you who's going to be king. So Samuel meets Saul at the gate, and Saul asks for directions to the seer, and Samuel says, "Here I am, it's me." And then Samuel says, "You're gonna stay and eat with me, and I'm gonna tell you everything that's on your mind, including that those donkeys you're chasing after, don't worry about them. They'll be fine." So Samuel takes Saul and his servant boy and brings them to the dining hall and gives Saul the place of honor, and they eat and they feast. Saul stays the night, and the next morning Samuel anoints Saul as king in secret at the edge of town, and he sends the servant boy on ahead so that he and Saul, the one that he's anointing, are the only people there. There are no witnesses. So Samuel doesn't exactly make it public that Saul is king at this point. Next we have then Samuel brings together all the tribes of Israel and draw by casting lots the name of the next king of Israel. And so of course, Saul's name is drawn, but Saul is nowhere to be found. Turns out he's hiding out behind the luggage. So the lot has fallen, and so that is God's will. So some of the warriors follow Saul, but some people refuse to give him tribute, and Saul's pretty good-natured about this. It says he held his peace. And then, about a month later, Israel's enemies on the eastern front, the Ammonites, attack. And word comes to Saul's hometown that the Ammonites have attacked. And the people are in a panic. They're crying when Saul comes back from the field with his team of oxen. And he scratches his head and, "What's going on?" And they tell him the Ammonites have attacked. So Saul now is seized by God's Spirit, and it's a violent spirit, and he hacks his team of oxen to pieces, and he tells everyone that anyone who doesn't join him in fighting off the Ammonites, he'll hack them to pieces just like the oxen. And in this way he conscripts all the tribes of Israel, and instead of relying on volunteers like the judges. And this is another point where down the road David stands looking a lot better than Saul. When David is anointed by Samuel and receives God's Spirit, it seems to be a very positive thing. But for Saul, it's violent. He is seized by this violent spirit of God. And then Saul conscripts all the men to come fight off the Ammonites, whereas David, in the story of David and Goliath, he volunteers to fight on behalf of all the people. In any case, Saul wins with this conscripted army, and it's then that Samuel publicly makes Saul king. So that's Saul, and next week I will talk about Saul's fall from grace, how he loses God's favor and the kingship. Talk to you next week.